Here we go, UCI Gravel World Series, round number 3 for me. We're here in the Gralloch, in the Galloway forest in Dumfries and Galloway. Beautiful part of Scotland, and yeah, super excited to be in my home country doing a race like this. So yeah, at the start, straight into it, super fast, as expected, a real fight for position. We go from this A road here, pretty wide road, and we turn left already onto a narrow farm track, gravel track. And yeah, second wheel into the gravel is pretty good behind local lad Lewis Martin. I've got Nathan Haas on my right shoulder here, and the pace is, yeah, it's harsh. It's high level. There's Connor Swift moving up, so he was the main kind of World Tour contingent. Sam Caldwell on the left hand side, top UK road racer. And then there's Kevin Panshuizen, if I pronounce that correctly, from Belgium there in the World Championship stripes just on the right. So we're straight into this climb, and it's out of the gate 15-minute climb with a short descent in it here. It takes you from Gatehouse of Fleet up into the hills, and it stripped the group pretty good, you know, like 500 people starting on our wave, and over the top I think the group was maybe only 15-20 guys. For good reason. We did normalized power of 386 watts for the 15 minutes. So yeah, you had to be pushing it here. Here's Andy from America up in front of me here, and this really does characterize what the Gralloch was all about, you know, fast, dusty. There's this middle lane here that was just really hard to ride on, so kind of the whole day was just 2 lanes of traffic, and if you wanted to move up you had to wait for a gap or jump across this middle line. So I've sped it up here just to show this climb, so just the ebbs and flows of the group as we're heading up into the forest. So yeah, you can see here as well the kind of roughness of the gravel. It was, yeah, changing all day from super smooth tarmacy gravel like this to like really rubbly stuff, and yeah, it was pretty, just constantly had to be on your toes, you know. My experience from the other gravel races was all about position, you know. It was so important to be near the front and to be able to see where you're going, because it can make all the difference, you know. It could be the difference between getting a puncture or missing a split or making a split. So we're cresting the climb here, and I kind of just slide up here to make sure I'm in third wheel as we head down the first descent of the day pretty much, which I knew would be pretty critical because everyone's still on their toes, everyone's working out how the bikes feel, everyone's working out the speed of things, and yeah, just seeing how the race is going to adapt. But yeah, we are only about 20 minutes into the race here, so a lot of racing still to come. So I choose to go on the right hand side here, which was a mistake, just a lot rougher. So I let this guy pass into the wheel of Connor Swift, and you know, this is also a pretty good example of the descents we were dealing with. Pretty not tight twists, you know, just like fast open corners, and if you really wanted to send it, like Connor Swift is doing at the moment, he is up in there in the distance, he's moved to the front and he's just getting on with it. If you really wanted to send it, you could keep your foot in it and keep pedaling, and put people under pressure, because yeah, you can push on in the climbs, but if you were to push on in the descents as well, you can really start to make people suffer and stop them from actually recovering. So yeah, we're pedaling full gas into this corner, but unfortunately the guy in front's not going to make that, and I just kind of cruise around the outside, similar to the incident last time with Seth Van Mark. But as I get onto this bottom fire road section, you see Connor Swift up there, and I'm just going to ride kind of back up to the rear wheel of him, and we have a bit of a chat and ask him how he's getting on and how he's enjoying the gravel. But it's cool. It's just as like I've seen with the other gravel races, it does attract just such a wide variety of racers, you know. In here we've got Alistair Brownlee, Olympic champion, Connor Swift, World Tour rider, ex-World Tour riders, ex-time trialists, ex-mountain bikers, and then current gravel kind of pros, and it's such cool thing that we can be on this playing ground, this playing field, and we all just getting on with fast, good, fun bike riding. Yeah, it's what it's all about. So we did this whole first loop, and after about 20-25k we get onto this road section, pretty much the only road of the day, kind of 5-6 kilometer back road, and as expected, like, nothing really happened because people are trying to save themselves really for later in the race. And then we're into another key section. So this is a fast out and back section, so it's a lollipop of the loop, and I've slipped back in the group a bit here, which is a bit of a mistake because there are some really fast descents coming up, 60, 65, 70 k's an hour, and you can see everyone's kind of off the wheel a little bit, trying to leave a bit of a gap. So I'm following Matt Holmes here, ex-World Tour rider, and yeah, there's just constant dangers in the groups. You know, rocks flying up. We're catching lap riders as well, or slower riders, and that's one of the Ribble riders dropped his chain, and now there's a gap in front of us, in front of Connor Swift and Matt Holmes, so we're just having to close that up. While all this was happening, Sam Caldwell put in a little dig off the front and got a bit of daylight, which was fair enough to him, because you'll see what's going to happen next is a pretty key sector. So I'm going to come to the front about 500 meters out from it and just set a pretty hard tempo, dragging the group along, but just trying to keep my position. And then we're turning into this really kind of uppy downy section that leads onto this. So this is a fast pedaling straight. You know, we're doing 50-55 k's an hour in our hardest gear, pushing it, and at the front of this is Connor Swift, pushing on full gas, followed by Andy, I think, and right here he drops his chain, so I have to cross over to the other side of the road. So he's got a drop chain, he'll get that on and get back into the group. I kind of pick up with the pace setting, not really take advantage of his problem, but more just to kind of finish off what he started and keep the pace nice and high, because I just know that if you're 10-15 wheels back during all of this, you're going to be working super hard. So loads of loose corners like this, you know, that's all just rubble really. And the dangerous part of this whole section was the middle section of the gravel, where it's not so smooth. Every time you have to cross over, you're risking puncturing, you're risking loose stones coming up. So every time, you know, someone like Kevin's having to do that, it is really dangerous. So there are guys coming through to get on with it, but unfortunately Andy here also has a puncture pretty soon, I think. So yeah, there's just always something going on. The attrition rate in this race was super high. I think probably 70%, 75% of people had an issue here, whether it was drop chains, punctures, losing bottles, things coming loose on their bike. So you see Sam Caldwell reappearing. He did most of this section out in the front, which was pretty clever. Stayed away from all of the carnage, and for a little bit extra effort he got a whole lot more safety. So that's that kind of dangerous section done. We're then on to the kind of the forest drive, so smoother gravel, wider gravel, and I look behind, it's a group of 8 of us. I know there'll be guys chasing on, but we try and get a bit of a chain gang going through, just guys peeling off and sharing a bit of the work as we get through here. So that's Grant Ferguson on the front, ex-British mountain bike champ, and we've got a few guys coming through. But it's always with the gravel stuff, people are quite cagey because they know how hard the later stages of the races are going to be. So yeah, because in this first 1 hour and 45 minutes, we've averaged 300 watts, normalized power of 330 watts. So it's been full on, and that's about halfway through the race. And you see here the group just constantly, you know, ebbing and flowing as we go over all these little lumps. So here's me in second wheel on one of the other fast downhills. I pretty much try to do every downhill from first to second position, just for the safety of it, you know. Just, you see the speeds here. If you're further back in the group like these guys are, there's just so much less time to react to things. So that's kind of the main. You use a lot of energy, but for the safety side of it. So I rode quite a lot of time in the front. After those last clips, we went over a pretty hard climb, the main hard climb of the day, 6-7 minutes. A couple minutes from the top, Connor Swift and Sam Caldwell pushed on, and I didn't quite have the gas to follow them right there, but I crested the summit with 15 seconds of a gap, and I was planning to kind of really shut the gap on the downhill. I didn't quite get there, and I had a small mechanical at the bottom of the downhill, which cost me space in the lead group, in the chasing group, sorry. So I found myself with Will Trilov and Christian Krüchler, German guy who I've raced other rounds. So this is us kind of chopping off and you know, making the most of where we're at the moment. I think we're in maybe racing for 7th or 8th, but the attrition of the guys in front would happen. So 2 or 3 of them would puncture or have mechanicals out, and it ended up that we were racing for 4th place. But during all of this, I had started to feel my level drop. My legs weren't quite feeling as fresh as they were, which is expected, but I had got a bit of illness in the week prior, and I think my level just wasn't quite at its top. As its top plate, there's Alistair Brownlee there with a puncture, and he wouldn't be able to fix it, so he had to abandon. But yeah, my shape just wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, so I didn't have the minerals in that last hour. But I worked with these guys for as long as I could until I did actually get dropped, because I just ran out of gas, which is a shame because I really wanted to do a good ride on my home race. But I can't really complain with how things went. I was present, I was up in the front, but it just wasn't to be this time, and it doesn't take away from all the beautiful riding that I was getting to doing while in this race. You know, the Gravel World Series has come to arguably the best place in the whole of Scotland and the whole of the UK to ride gravel, and it sounds like people did have a good day out racing on the gravel of Galloway Forest. So the route was just stunning gravel all day. 113 kilometers worth of just this. Probably the best route I've done of the World Series so far. Also probably the hardest race in terms of race effort, but that maybe was because I wasn't feeling my best. But for the 3 hours 28-minute race, I did 280 watts average, 306 normalized, an average power of 172, an average heart rate of 172 beats per minute, which shows how fresh I was, and then 32.7 kilometers an hour, but quite a far way behind Connor Swift, the winner. So I came in there just behind the sprint finish for 5th, so that landed me in 7th overall, which is a decent enough result, but the margins are pretty tight up there, so I would have liked to have the extra minerals to make it into that front group. But I hope you enjoyed the race and my analysis of it, and we'll catch you at the next Gravel World Series later in the year. Cheers, bye.